Dubai Island has over 146 off-plan projects right now. And every developer talks about waterfront, capital appreciation, payment plans, amenities, and so much more. But we want to dig in further. We want to talk about a developer as to why should they choose their project as opposed to another project in that community. Not just the brochure language, much deeper. We want to bring in facts that help the buyers and investors make the right decision on their property. Today, we're having a conversation with Abhishek Jalan. We're talking about Ramada Residences by Wyndham in Dubai Island. Let's dig in. There are about 146 off-plan projects from what I read in Dubai Island right now.
Yeah.
Why should a buyer consider your project?
So, Jatin, all of this comes down to the point, what is the USP of a Grovy product? So, something which is very close to our brand ethos is wealth creation and making sure that the value of the asset is preserved in the long run. So, when we look at Dubai Island as a community, we see that because the GFA is within a certain range, we have a lot of competitors coming into that market. Now, what we need to understand about development is when we come into development, we want to focus on making sure that the asset value is preserved for the long run, that we are able to sell an asset which is, at the right price, where the consumer is able to get a better ROI compared to the community or what the community is offering. So for us, what is important is that the customer gets that benefit. So I'm not going to talk about the product in general, specifically that there are these many amenities, there are waterfront or beachfront or all that jazz or the marketing side of it. But for us, what is critical is that the customer who buys the asset gets a better value, gets a better ROI, and they're able to, grow their net worth.
On the ROI, the next question, your brochure says that your plot is one of the most accessible plots in Dubai Island. What does that mean? If somebody's buying or buying to rent it out, how does it affect them?
So coming in and out of a community is obviously time consuming, and that's something which we also look at when we are going into a development. Adding asset value is geographic. A very small component of it is geographic in terms of where the plot is located, where the entry exit points are, and that elements does definitely add to the value of the asset. So our project Ramada is essentially, as soon as you come down from the bridge, Infinity Bridge, you take a left and you're just there. So it takes less than 3 minutes to, as soon as you enter Dubai Island, to actually reach the plot.
Right. So in and out is going to be extremely easy.
Extremely easy, yes.
Right.
So typically how the communities are designed is one way is faster than the other. So when you're getting in, it'll be much faster. Obviously, it'll take a little more time to get out because the roads are such that, you have to go around the whole block of plots before you can come out. So, but yeah, the community, that is how the community infrastructure is built. Typically, you would not have a plot which is in and out immediately. That is typically a villa community where you would have, let's say, at the entrance, one of the plots. But still, for that villa to exit, you'll have to go around and take a roundabout from there and come back.
Right.
So that's a purely infrastructure design.
Right. Let's talk numbers.
Yeah.
In Dubai Island, the branded residences, from my research, are selling for about 2,800 per square foot. And non-branded residences and apartments are selling for 2,300. You have come out with 2,550 per square foot. So it sort of feels you're in between the two. Tell us a little bit about this plan.
So again, goes back to the thought process that how we are able to give the right pricing to the customer. So, and this is something which we are very meticulous about. So when we come to market in terms of pricing, so we want to look at what our costs are, and we want to look at our margins are intact, and then we are able to put the product pricing in front of that. So obviously we have to do a comparative analysis of the community in terms of what the other developers or other products are selling at, but that is not the defining factor of our pricing. For example, if we would have looked at, say, January launching the product, we would have been in similar price point, because that puts the product in the margins that we are able to, give the value proposition to our customers as well. And obviously, whoever is coming in early gets the value proposition more compared to someone who's coming at a later stage. So yeah, I think making sure that our costing is intact and we are able to put the right margins so the customer gets the right and fair pricing.
Right. Now, talking about pricing, you launched this project in June 2026.
Yeah.
Had you launched this project before Feb 2026, obviously before the conflict began and before the uncertainty in the region, would you have priced it at different per square foot?
So our pricing has been more or less finalized since Jan.
Okay.
So to answer a straightforward answer to that question is no, our pricing would have been the same. It is not the pricing that gets affected. It is technically because of the scenario. We look at the sales velocity being affected. Now, as a developer, our sales velocity is a little extended compared to what the market has gotten used to over the last couple of years. But I feel for a healthy market, the sales velocity needs to be a little extended.
Right.
Because it keeps the expectations real, it keeps the growth stable, and other than so when we look at a financial product, again coming back to the brand ethos, when we look at a product, we don't necessarily look at extreme growths. We look at stability in the market. I think that is one of the key factors that we want to put in place for our products. Now, another thing that generally happens is people tend to say that, well, sales is an important aspect for a product, but it should not be the only aspect for a product. And I think that is where we are able to differentiate ourselves, and we are able to give that benefit to our customers.
So when you give this benefit to a customer from a layman term, or from what I understand about developers, you might be reducing your profit margins. Is from what I understand. Is that the case then? Because if you're giving so much back and that's your USP in some way, then are you giving away some of your profits in that case?
See, we want people to have a better financial education. Now, our profitability is linked with the product margins. And what also happens, which is not something we are able to get immediate benefit of, is the recall. So when a customer who comes in and he buys our initial developments and they say, okay, fine, we are able to generate a certain amount of return and we are stably or gradually getting that, then they come in again to us. They come and buy Grovy products again. So that is what we are trying to build over here. Yes, our cost in general is comparatively lesser in the market. That's why we are also able to do that, because obviously there's a lot of marketing expense which goes into the product as well, which eventually goes and transfers to the customer. So we are able to curb that. Obviously, product cost in terms of construction, the hard cost, we would not want to compromise on that. But the soft cost is where we can actually do some compromise and pass that benefit to the customers.
Talking about construction cost, you said that you decided price per square foot, which is 2,550 per square foot for this project in Jan. But then the little bit of uncertainty happened. Did you not think of increasing the cost? Because obviously the construction cost has also gone higher.
So our construction partners, they were onboarded in November last year.
Okay.
So we had a good understanding of where the numbers are. So we were able to price the product better. We did not go to market because we want to achieve a certain amount of progress on site. And this brings trust in the market. And I feel this is a very stable way of growing the development brand as well.
Right. And we're sitting in your show apartment. And we're sitting in your show apartment. Looks absolutely beautiful though. One thing I wanted to ask you is, you have launched this one bedroom in this project at about 950 square foot, right? And the average one bedroom in Dubai Island is about 880 square foot. So you're about 7% higher than some of your competition. Was that a deliberate call?
So when we talk about luxury, and this is something which I try to inform as many people as I can. So how do you define luxury? I mean, we hear products marketing, this is a luxury product, this is... As a consumer, typically a consumer does not know what the products are being used inside the apartment. But when we are able to give them additional space, we are able to call that as a luxury product. So for us as a brand practice, we have a standard practice that we want to achieve at least 10% larger sizes compared to the community. Now it benefits, I mean, there are many benefits, but a lot of these benefits are not immediately visible. One of the most important benefits is the kind of customers coming into the building, the kind of people coming into their building are smart investors, because they are looking for family assets. They are looking for assets which, end consumers are going to come and live. And the only way a asset value is going to appreciate is when end customers are coming in. When we are building everything for investors, there has to be someone who has to come and live into it. So I feel as Grovy, we call ourselves a luxury developer when we are able to give more space in a unit to our customers.
Right. Let's talk about Wyndham,
Yeah.
branded residences. Now, for a layman, what does Wyndham brand actually do? How will a layman buying how would a layman, someone buying a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, or any apartment in this Wyndham residences benefit them actually?
So there's a lot of confusion or lack of understanding in the market. What exactly happens when a brand comes in? What exactly does a brand come and do other than putting their name on the project? So from the design stage, obviously there's the brand guidelines which are being followed in terms of the show apartment. So the one we are sitting in, you can see there's a lot of red into it. That's deliberate and that's designed with the brand itself. So we get take approvals and making sure that the material which is being used is as per the brand guidelines. So that is one way of filtering the product. But for us, why this made sense was, again, it ties back to value creation. So when we look at a typical residential development, and this is a learning that we have taken over the last couple of years as well, when an owners association comes into a building, they are managing the complete asset, they're managing the common areas. What typically happens, and what we have seen as well, is that many a time some of these assets or some of these services within the common area are probably not in a position where people are able to use them on a regular basis. I can give a very simple example like a barbecue area. Yes, it looks nice on a brochure. But how practical is it? I mean, have you seen people actually use a barbecue area in your community, unless it's a townhouse or something like that? In standalone buildings, the occupation or the utilization of that particular service is very limited. There are many reasons. Obviously, it's not kept well. There's no maintenance of it. When you go, you'll be asked for security deposits and significant amount of paperwork before you can actually use it. Then there'll be restrictions. You can't do it at this time or that time. So because Ramada or the project in Dubai Island that we are doing has more than 20 amenities and a lot of these amenities need servicing. So we thought of having a branded hospitality brand who has understanding of how to operate a residential asset to come and maintain these assets. Now that provides direct value to the customers. That me as a consumer, if I want to go and use a chill pool in a building, I know the temperature is going to be maintained. If I want to use the aqua gym, I know the equipments in the aqua gym are going to be operational. If I want to use the theater system, I can have that arranged because people are going to be making sure that those systems are working. There are golf simulators. These are all expensive equipments, and you need people to maintain these assets. Now, as a consumer, I would not know how to operate a golf simulator. I just need someone to turn the screen on so I can just start my practice. So a branded residence provides these services. Now, these are the common area services. But other than that, you have a la carte services. You can have laundry services. You can have butler services. All these services are provided by the hospitality brand because they have the ecosystem. That's why they are able to provide these services.
Right. You're one of the few projects allowed to do short-term rentals with this project. So, two questions in one. Why is this permission so rare? And secondly, in terms of rental yield, what does it mean for your customers?
So when we work with a brand, so there are certain guidelines that they're following, and most of these brands are international brands, so they will follow those guidelines. Now, because we were able to work with Wyndham for a certain structure, so we were able to get short-term rental approved on this project. So what that means is a consumer or a owner of the apartment can actually have the apartment done short-term rental, and it can be done by any third party in the market. So like Airbnb or any other short-term rental companies, they can come in, they can take the apartment, they'll register themselves with the approvals for the authorities, they'll register themselves with Ramada, and they can have the apartment done on short-term rental. Now, as short-term rental, when we look at the yields for consumers, we are able to generate higher yields on short-term rental because the apartment is fully furnished. There's no additional cost for the consumer, and typically we are looking at, based on the numbers, upwards of 8%, and that's good. That's a very conservative rental yield as well. But people are able to achieve 8% plus rental yields.
And 8% yield, I assume, is gross yield.
So it's net yield.
8% net yield?
Yes. So after reducing the service charges, people are able to get 8% plus.
So let's do some math here. Yeah. Say a 1 bedroom where we are sitting right now, this kind of apartment, a 1 bedroom in Dubai Island, in Wyndham Residences, how much would that cost me?
So a typical one bedroom would probably be around 2.2, 2.3 million. And the annual rental we can expect somewhere in the range of 180 to 200,000.
That's a short-term rental.
Long term. That's a typical 1 year rental. Now, when we add on the short term element to it, typically the rents would be about 15% higher than that.
So obviously, short-term returns are more than
Yes.
long-term
Yeah.
rentals.
But it's completely up to the consumer. I mean, the buyer.
It's their choice.
It's their choice. They want to go for a short term. They want to go for a long term. There are pros and cons of both of them, and it's completely
The good part is that there is a choice.
There's a choice.
It's a branded residence.
Yeah.
There is a choice of short-term, long-term,
Yeah.
whatever suits you as a customer.
Yeah.
Talking about service fee,
Yeah.
since it's a branded residence, is the service fee higher than a regular building in the same community?
Yes, it will be.
Can you tell me the difference?
So
please?
typically, the typical building services will be there, where utilities are there, the master community service charge will be there. So the most, I mean, the heaviest element of the service fee is the utility expenses.
Yeah.
Things like DIVA or things like even the maintenance of common areas like cleaning, security, manpower services. These will be heavy, and then the brand services will be coming in, which was going to add on to the service charge. So your service fees are going to be higher. So something that we always try to educate is, okay, service fees is important, but look at your net yields. If your service fee is high, you are getting better services in the building. And this is again a learning over the last couple of years, because I remember in our earlier developments, we would actually try and reduce the service fee. Now what we notice is when we put the service fee very low, we don't get in qualified vendors, not we're not getting proper security services, we're not getting proper cleaning services. So it's not always a smart move to reduce the service. There has to be a benchmark that we know what the prices are in the market, and we have to take that into consideration.
Right. So even though the service charges might be slightly higher for a branded residences,
Yeah.
but then you get a higher rental yield,
Yes.
and then the higher service charge gets cancelled out.
Correct.
In that sense.
So we look at a return perspective. So when we look at the return perspective, the service charge gets adjusted, and we are able to get a better yield over there.
Abhishek, let's talk about from the buyer's point of view.
Yeah.
I'm a buyer. I have some money in my account. I want to invest in this project because I find the space is decent, the community is great, branded residences. I've come to you now. Explain to me what your payment plan is.
So typically our payment plan is a 60-40 payment plan, where 60% is paid till completion and 40% is paid over the 40 months. So 1% a month post handover. But how the 60% is split, that is also something which is important to understand. So the first 20% is a deposit which gets paid in the first couple of months, and then all your payments are linked to construction. So when we reach a certain milestone in construction, the customer pays the payment. So the customer gets protected in terms of any delays in the project. They're not making any payments, so their returns are preserved. Typically, the payment plan that we have taken into consideration brings in a IRR for a consumer, for a retail customer, about 12%. Bare minimum, we should be looking at a 12% IRR. So to buy an apartment, let's say for 2.5 million, they don't need to spend 2.5 million. So that is the beauty of it, where the returns are actually significantly higher than what they're able to get anywhere else. Another thing why we have this payment plan is to protect the consumer in terms of delays, as I said, and it also protects the developer in terms of the liabilities in the market. So I think it's a win-win when we do a construction link payment plan. And
And the 40% post handover, can you tell me how much that it comes to per month?
So it will come to, so if it's a 2.5 million, then 25,000 a month. So how it gets set off essentially is you're looking at 25,000. So in a year, you're looking at 300,000. And you're getting rent of, let's say, 150 to 170 after the service charges. So it gets set off. So you are actually not paying that. Another thing that we try and educate our customers from there is, once you have bought the apartment, once the building is ready, we are able to get bank lending for the consumers. Now, what happens when a bank lending is there? The consumer has paid 60%, for example. Even if there is a valuation discrepancy, the consumer is not at risk, because many a times, again, a learning that we have seen, consumers or people who want to buy the product, they say, okay, fine, bank is providing a mortgage of, let's say, 70%, they want to pay 30%. But what needs to be understood is bank valuation always comes slightly less than the actual value of the property,
Right.
because banks have certain margin with the valuations. There, people struggle, saying that, okay, fine, there's a shortfall of 5% or 3% in the valuation, I don't want to make that payment. So we want to have that buffer for the consumer as well. We want to have the payment plan where the risk of default is very minimal for the consumer as well. So now what happens over here, the consumer can get a liquidity release of, let's say, 60%. On a conservative side, we are looking at 70, but let's say it's 60%. Our product pricing is also such that once the product is delivered, we should be looking at fair value, bare minimum same price, or it should be higher, because we are looking at what 2.5-3% capital appreciation every year if you're comparing it with the inflation. So over the course of, let's say, 2 to 3 years, we should be looking at 5 to 7% appreciation. Forget the appreciation side. Let's say the price remains the same. So you can get a lending of 60%. Your outstanding is 40. You clear that outstanding. You get the extra liquidity of 20. Buy another apartment.
Buy
a new apartment with a finance. So you are able to buy 2 property by paying just 60% for one. And this is where the wealth creation starts happening, because your rent is covering the expenses. You are getting a rent on the 100% of the value of the property at 6.5%, while the bank lending is on the balance amount. And so this is what we are trying to educate our customers. It doesn't have to be a fancy property. It doesn't have to be a milestone property. It doesn't have to be anything. It just has to make financial sense.
Right.
And if that happens, you are on the path for growth.
Right. One question that I ask a lot of developers I meet now, because that's what the reality of the market is. We're all facing some sort of heat. The numbers are not the same that they were last year at this time. As a developer, what's your take? Because some developers might want to compromise on the quality or delay the project. Where do you stand?
See, with changing dynamics, obviously the strategies do change. In terms of the thought process, what we have always believed, good product always sells, no matter what the market scenario. And I can take examples of 2008. I can take recovery examples of 2008. I can take examples of COVID. Whatever good assets were there, they recovered much faster. The demand came in much faster. So what we should be rather focused on is executing and delivering what has been promised, because that builds a reputation for the brand, and that also builds a reputation for the product. And in the whole conversation, whenever we are there, obviously as a structure, Grovy is just providing a structure, but in the end the product is the hero, and we have to make sure that the execution happens for the hero. That's where a developer comes in and says, okay, fine, we have optimized if needed, we are doing optimization, but we are making sure that the brand or the product ethos is maintained across the board. So that is something we, as a developer, we should be maintaining.
So you're going to deliver what you have committed to. And from my understanding, that will also mean that you will eat up some of the profits that you had anticipated when you launch the project.
That's the nature of the business. So to build a brand, everyone has to grow together.
Right.
And the ethos needs to be maintained across the board.
Right. I'll take your word for it now, but once you deliver this project, I'll remember this conversation.
Yes.
I'll make sure I'll go check out the project. We'll take a walk together
100%.
And probably record it from the location when it's delivered.
Yes.
But that's what I've done with a couple of other developers recently. And one last question before I let you go, Abhishek. If someone's looking to invest in Dubai Island, in one sentence, why should they invest with you and not with any other developer?
The one thing that comes to me, why Grovy, is we are focused on holistic growth for whoever is joining with us, all of our stakeholders. So it's not just the consumer or our customer. So collective growth is important, and that is what we are focusing on. So I think our USP is that we are providing growth to your financial understanding, and we are providing something which is going to hold long-term value. And we have the data to prove that as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Abhishek, for being on PropertyPulse again. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
look forward to seeing how this project shapes up.
100%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was our conversation with Abhishek Jalan from Grovy Developers. We spoke about their new project, Ramada by Wyndham in Dubai Island. Here's my understanding of the project. The space for a one-bedroom is 950 per square foot in this project, which is about 7% more than an average one bed in that area. They've launched this project at 2,550 per square foot for a branded residences. An average price for a branded residences In Dubai Island is about 2,700 to 2,800. So from the price point of view, it does its job. And the developer says that the rental yield will be much higher in this project because they're also allowing short-term rentals. But is this project for you? That's your call. Our job is to bring facts to the table that helps you make the right decisions. If you found this content useful, hit the subscribe button or just follow us. We'll be covering new developers and new projects from time to time. This is Jatin Deepchandani. You are watching Property Pulse by Real Estate Market Times. See you next time.